Welcome guys to part 28 of the emergency shed storage clean out. That's getting hard to say. We've got to get something else out of the shed this week. You haven't seen any other videos from me for the last few days because we've been extremely busy working on another project, but we've got to get something out of the shed this week. Let's go and have a look. I can't neglect my obligations, so we need to get something out of this shed this week. Coco's with me. And what are we going to do, Coco? We're going to find a box to unpack. Let's have a look. Right, well, we got rid of all those books last time. Down the bottom is a large, heavy guillotine. I actually bought that on eBay years ago because I bought a whole heap of old car manuals that were in a garage that had a fire, and the edge of the manuals were all charred. So I was going to use the guillotine to clean them up. I still probably will do that at some stage, so I'll keep that for now. There's an old Willow watering can. I don't think it's got its rose on it, but I do have a couple of those in the shop. Rather than get into this shelf unit, let's just clear up this pile of stuff beside this shelf here. We've got a tub of random stuff on the top here. It looks like an old battery charger or electric fence energizer or something. This is a just a spray. It works off your air compressor. It's a like for spraying degreaser or something. There's just a venturi set up to suck whatever you've got in that container. So that'll be handy for cleaning up engines. I will keep that. But let's go through this tub here. The box underneath looks to have some old horse harness gear. There's an old tin. I honestly have no idea what's in here. Certainly won't be books. Let's do those tubs for now. That might probably do us for today. I don't have a lot of time. And well, really underneath we've just got that watering can, the guillotine, and there's an old cream can under there, but we'll get to that next time. Let's do the black tub and the yellowy orange bin. Okay, this thing is a 12 volt, probably a battery charger, power supply of some sort. We'll check that out in a minute. And this tub has a bit of everything. We've got horse harness gear on top. We've got some, looks like some kitchen stuff, a bit of crockery, an old ashtray. Very interesting. We could get anything out of here. Right, let's go through these and see what value we've got. Incidentally, all those books that we got out of the last episode, I put them all in the shop over the weekend. I think we've sold one or two of the Australian books, the coffee table books, and I did put this weeds identification book on eBay. I thought I'd throw it on straight away rather than put it in the shop somewhere. And I started at $70 with free postage. So I figured it would cost me $10 postage, and within a day it sold, and that's already gone out. So taking into account eBay fees and postage, I was still clear $50 on that one, which was great. We only allowed 40 for it in the list. So things do sell. Back to this stuff. Now, this says 12 volts DC, 3.3 volts AC. Interesting combination. So it's some sort of old charger power supply. I don't know what it would have been for. Maybe it was even homemade. Maybe it was for some sort of soldering iron, because they often ran off 3.3 volts. The old scope irons. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could see if it works. It might have an old selenium rectifier in it for the DC. Yeah, not too sure on that one. If nothing else, it'll be scrap. It'll be a bit of value for scrap. We have some wire. We will have a transformer. But I think I'd rather sell it if it works. So we'll test that one later on. A diamond wheel. Well, I mentioned last time that I had... Oh, okay. This is what wasn't what I was expecting. I mentioned last time I had a lot of bench grinders. But what sort of wheel is this? A diamond wheel? Can't get it out of the box. Okay. Right. I don't really know what that is. Is that a special abrasive wheel, or is that the basis and you put something on it? Feels like it's a bit of an abrasive. Bill Rowe 100. I don't know what that's for. But it obviously goes on your bench grinder, because they often have these plastic bushes to suit various grinders. So I might have to check that one out. Is that a special abrasive surface on that? Or is it designed to take something like emery paper or something. Don't know, we'll check that one out. It obviously comes in its original packaging. Okay, we have some random scrap metal bits in here. There's old power board, which I've got a whole box of those to scrap out for the brass in them. We'll do a video on that at some stage. There's a copper aluminium radiator off a CPU, and there's various extruded aluminium heat sinks. They've got little metal pins. We'll take the pins out so they can just go in the aluminium. They just need a bit of cleaning up. And there's a copper one that's quite weighty, but again it's contaminated with other steel, so we'll have to clean that up. A bit of other random scrap. We have a huge big brass tap washer. Great big piece of rubber on it. We'll need to take the rubber off, but that'll go in our brass bin. Another one there. That looks like part of a gas regulator, but it's obviously only part of it. That's going to be a die-cast zinc, but it can go in our cast aluminium. We just need to take the valve out of it. There'll be a bit of brass in there as well. That's the lid from a whistling kettle. It's a little bit damaged on the top, but I sometimes get those kettles and they don't have their whistler, so we'll hang on to that for now. A large fitting here, mainly brass, and a gel reducer on this end, so we'll take that off. More good stuff for our brass bin. We had another kettle whistler. A power supply, obviously cord's been cut off. It'll be a switch mode power supply. I don't know what it's suited. I will take that apart just to make sure that there's no bits I can use on the board, because I have been trying to repair a lot of little switch mode power supplies without a lot of success, but I'm keen to keep some parts out of them. A little brass nozzle, another brass valve thing there. We need to clean that up for our scrap brass bin. Another brass fitting. A really large fuse. Now these ends on these fuses are usually copper, tinned copper, and it's like a ceramic material in the middle, and if you break them they have like a sand and the fuse wire inside. There may be a little bit of silver in the wire, I'm not too sure, but it's probably worth just breaking it open just for the large copper ends on it. I'll go as number 2 copper. Simple little fan assembly off something. Aluminium blades, aluminium base. The rivets will be aluminium, but it's got a steel centre, so we'll knock that out. A brass handle off something, not sure. It's basically just a finial off something. Could be the end of a curtain rod. It would have screwed into wood. So yeah, possibly off a curtain rod. It's probably not worth going to the trouble of getting that out for brass scrap. We could throw it in the irony brass as it is. It might even make $1 at the shop, just in the assorted hardware box. Someone might buy it. So we might do that, take it to the shop for $1. We have some cable here. This looks like actually copper wire and heavy brass ends, so I can clean that up for scrap. And a few more little fuses. These are smaller ones. And that's all we have in this tub. So I will clean up this scrap and I will include this in the value. I think Shane asked me to add the value of the scrap in these unboxings just for interest's sake. So I'll do that as well. Let's get into the yellow one. Okay, this one's a real mixed bag. So we've got some horse gear. That's a large bit. Could even be from Clydesdale horse or something that's very large. So I think that will sell. It'll clean up quite well. It's chromed or nickel plated. A little bit of steel wool will clean that up very well. We'll probably might even get $10 for that. That looks like the handle from an old kettle. Still got the original brackets. It's also similar to the handles they use on the end of serving trays. Fairly plain though. The wing nut's not original, that end is. I think I'll probably just keep the handle. I do have a box for wooden handles, but the hardware can probably just go in the scrap. We might keep that end because that's an original end. It's going to undo okay. So a little bit of scrap and a useful handle. Okay, all this harness gear. Well, what are we going to do with this? I don't think there's any real value individually in those bits. There's just some very old leather, lots of buckles, some quite rusted fittings. It's lost all its plating. I think we'll just put that... look, I might put it in a box And people do like to hang this stuff up, especially if people are into horses. We might just put in a box at the shop for $5, and if I find any other bits of harness, I can just go in it as well. It's much better than throwing it out. There's no real scrap value because that's all steel. So probably $5 for the harness. Now we have some ashtrays. That's someone's glued little gemstone pieces to it. It's very rough. I don't see much value there at all. Oh, it's got a picture underneath. All right, well, that's worth washing up and seeing what the picture is. It looks like it's a scene. It looks like something like the Grand Canyon. So we'll wash that up. It might look a lot better washed up. It's got a bit of felt glued to the bottom, but we'll give that a clean up. There's another ashtray here. It's a souvenir one from somewhere. It's advertising Bernardi's, and it's made in Australia by Westminster. So yeah, we might get $5 for that again. Ashtrays still actually sell, surprisingly. That's supposed to have a little plate on it. It's quite retro. It's Corningware, so it takes a Corningware plate. Yeah, that may actually sell. It'll clean up really well. It's made from a die cast again, so it's really worth hardly anything for scrap. I think I'll put that in the shop for $5 after a bit of a clean up, and if someone collects Corningware and has the right plate for it, it'll add a lot of value. Unless the plate's in here, of course. Now we have a tin. It's a Maya tin. It's very modern. It's got a barcode on the bottom. I think we'll just put that in the $1 box. I'll give it a bit of wipe off. That can just go in the $1 box. And if it doesn't sell quickly, it'll go in the free box. Some, looks like 60s pottery here. Little canister. It's Sylha, which is S-Y-L-H-A. You probably can't read that on the camera. It was a studio pottery somewhere in Melbourne. It does sell. It's 1960s. It's probably not worth a great deal, but washed up, I reckon I'd get $10 for that fairly easily. And we have some tinware, which is pretty average condition. Rather rusty. That's Willow brand. I think these probably aren't worth the effort to wash up, being so rusty. And they're not old enough to really be that collectible. They look a lot older than what they actually are. I think I'll just put them in the shred steel. Here we have a divided glass plate. It looks 60s, maybe 70s. It's Pyrex. That will sell for sure. Probably $10. Quick wash up, $10 there. And that's probably the lid for it. Pyrex lid, excellent. I think we might try 20 for that now with a lid, given that it's quite a nice retro design. It's undamaged, it just needs a wash. So $20 there. All right, we have some, looks like a tile. Oh, it's like chalkware. So it's a ceramic of sorts. Rosemary. Yeah, it's just a little plaque thing. Maybe it was supposed to hang on the wall. I think we'll just put that in the $1 box. Don't think I'm going to try and clean it up enough to sell it. All right, some little Asian style spoons. You often used to see these at Chinese restaurants. They're made in China, but they've got a bit of age to them. They could be 80s era, maybe even 70s. I think we'll probably get $5. We might even get 10 for those, you know. I'll give them a quick wash up. We'll try for 10. The blue and white's always popular, and the Asian style stuff it still sells quite well. It looks like it was 65 cents, but it's a very old price sticker, probably 1970s. A little bit more tinware, but yes, it's quite rusty. These are little jelly molds. Made in Germany, of all places. Oh, that one's actually not too bad. Yeah, look, we might try and... They'll clean up okay. They're not actually that rusty. They've just lost their finish. I think we'll give them a quick wash up. We'll get $5 for those little jelly molds. German made's a bit unusual. Some little ramekins. Pretty hard things to sell. There's no brand on them. They do look 60s era. They don't appear to be damaged. I think we'll wash those up. We might get $5 for a set of 4 ramekins. We should be able to. And we have a pumpkin head. This is very light ceramic work. I'm not sure what this actually is, just an ornament, I guess. Just like a baby's head in pumpkin form that just rests on a shelf. It's unusual. We might get $5 for it just purely because it's so unusual. Don't see much value in it really though. Oh, there's another little Chinese bowl here. I guess they were like for sauces. We have resin and power shell, I think they call that. It's New Zealand shell. That's undamaged. And I think this is called Crystal Craft. Handcrafted with marine opal taken from divers from the Pacific. Made in Australia for Crystal Craft. Queensland, it looks like. So maybe it isn't the power shell. It's just a marine opal, they called it. So I think that's actually an ashtray. It's got little indentations. I wouldn't think, though, maybe it was supposed to have a little metal dish in there because I think the cigarette heat would muck up the resin. But it's cute, little turtle. I think we'd get at least 5 for that washed up. We have a coaster, just the one, so no real value in that unless there's more in here. Some little shot glasses, they're crystal ones. So they're undamaged. We'd easily get $5 for a pair of shot glasses. There might be more. I don't know where this stuff come from. Here we have a enormous salt shaker that feels like it's got salt still in it. Don't see much value in that. People do collect salt and peppers, but I don't see a lot of collectability in that one. There's no name on it. It's quite modern. The pepper's in here as well. I guess that's the pepper. There's 3 holes in that. There was 4 in the other one. I don't know. Maybe I should wash them up. They're undamaged. All right, I'll give them a bit of a wash up. We might get 5 the pair. All right, there's something in a bag. Oh, it's an old kitchen blender. Blender? What do they call it? Beater. A hand beater. It's very average condition. I'm not going to clean that up. It's quite an old one. There's corrosion to the pins on the plug. That's just going to go in the scrap. We'll chop the cord off. We'll get an electric motor out of there. The beaters, sometimes I keep the beaters, particularly if they're Sunbeam ones, but this is not a Sunbeam. So they can probably just go in the... Oh, it's a Cambrook. Yeah, I might put them in with our $1 utensils. Someone might need them, but the rest of it's just going to be scrapped. And the last thing in here is another Cambrook appliance. Still in its box. And it's a portable food processor. So it's unlikely we're going to sell this one. It's only a little one. But again, it's an old unit. I don't think I'm going to waste my time trying to safety test it and sell it. I think we'll just scrap that as well. Electric motor, copper wire, and I can put the rest of it in with the e-waste and it gets rid of it. I don't want to take my time cleaning up these things and then testing and taking them only to get $5 for it. It's just a bit too much work. It's a bit different with the China. I just wash it up and put it in the shop. These have to be electrically safe and they're of limited use because people don't use these sort of things so much anymore. I think we'll just scrap that one out. And the box is cardboard. We have the booklet and everything. That can all go in the recycle bin. Cardboard and paper can be recycled. That's the end of that box. Better clean some stuff up and get the notepad organised. Let's start with the scrap metal. How much value did we get here? Well, I've scrapped everything out. I've cleaned it all up. I've processed the electrical stuff, and that stuff there is just going to the e-waste bins at the transfer station. I will be keeping the little switch mode power supply here because I've been working on these lately and I may need to salvage some parts off that one, so we'll disregard that. So we have some insulated copper wire, we have some extruded aluminium, we have quite a pile of copper, We have some cast aluminium, although the fan would go as domestic, but they're much the same price. I ended up scrapping out that power supply / battery charger. It was a school project, I believe. It's got details of a student's name. It was quite roughly made. I did try to see if it worked, and it didn't. And then I checked some of the internals, and the insulation on some of the wiring was pretty dodgy. So I decided just to scrap it out. There's the great big transformer we got out of it. A little bit of heavy melt steel, quite a pile of brass, including these plates that came out of the power board, and some brass hardware, which I weighed up as scrap brass, but I will keep these separate in a jar because I do sell the brass hardware. We got a few. I will go to the notepad first. You can see our total for scrap was about $27. That's at the most recent prices I had. 3 kilos of motors. I put the transformer in with the motors because they usually pay about the same. I don't worry about stripping the copper wire out of those. I don't have the time. So that was our scrap out of this deal. I also, in scrapping stuff out, I also save things. The little connectors. There was actually a little bridge rectifier in the food processor, which was interesting. The electric motor was a DC one, and they had a little rectifier in there. That might be useful. There was a couple of big power resistors, which could be handy in the workshop. Fuses, a thermal fuse, a little bit of hardware. These other fuses I'll put in a jar just to sell with assorted fuses. I did scrap the big one out. And where did the pieces go? Yeah, the ends of it were copper, but they're so light that it's barely worth the effort. There's not a lot of weight in that, so I don't think I'd worry about scrapping those again. I think I'll just sell them as fuses, or put them in the e-waste if they're blown. So there we go. That's what we got out of the scrap. Just over $27 worth. Let's look at the other stuff now. Everything here has been washed up and is now quite presentable. There wasn't any surprises. I did check eBay on the Corningware stand, and they seem to sell for $10 to $20. So I'll put 10 on that. The other things I checked out, I think will sell okay. I did decide to leave this one in being a large jelly mold, and I'll put it with the 3 smaller ones. I think I went for $10 on that. The shot glass is cleaned up nicely. This is a scene, I think, of the Grand Canyon. It has something written across the top. I can make out National. It might say National Park. But yeah, I think it's a Grand Canyon. So that's kind of an unusual looking ashtray. I suspect the stones have been added by someone else. I don't think they were originally on there. I think we'll just go 5 on that. In fact, I forgot to write that on the list. The turtle cleaned up nicely. The big bit there cleaned up well. The harness, I don't know if we'll be able to sell or not. I didn't find any more of that. And this ashtray here, the Bernardi's, has a really ugly big chip across the top of it. So I'll discount that. That can go straight in the free box. So our list for this stuff, as you can see there, I don't think I changed the prices much otherwise. Added up to 90, which gives us a total of 117. But I did forget to add that ashtray and something else, I think. Oh, the harness, which we may or may not get anything for. So add $5, maybe $10 to that price, gives us a total of over $100. Not anything very exciting. Oh, hang on, I forgot to mention this grinding wheel. Now, I'm going to keep it for now, so I'm not worried about a price for it. I did try to do a bit of research. I think it's a electroplated diamond grinding compound on the end. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong. It's branded Kinnick, and they still make abrasive wheels. I'm thinking it may be a purposely made grinding wheel for sharpening special tools or something. I don't know. Let me know if you think it's got much value, whether I should keep it. Perhaps it can go on one end of my mini bench grinders around here. Maybe it's worn out. I'm not sure. But we won't allow any value for that. I'll just keep it and have a play with it, and I'll await your opinions. So, not a lot of value, but we did clear $100. We got another few boxes out of the emergency storage shed and a bit more shop stock for this weekend to hopefully sell. So again, we've cleaned out some more stock. We're making some more room. We're increasing our value. I forgot to check the total again, but we must be pushing up around or close to $6,000 out of that shed so far. Bit of different stuff this time. We'll delve into it again very soon with some more boxes. Catch you in the next video. Bye for now.